ain't got no boundaries to hold me back. Boundaries is what I lack. Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Conflation Station. Hop on board the next train out, and let's take a ride to a place where anything's possible.
Hello and welcome to the Conflation Station. My name is Hugo Yorway and I'll be your tour guide for today's podcast, including political commentary, conspiracy theories, and some cool music from the Electric Glove Orchestra. At the Conflation Station, our team of creative writers and novice journalists combine elements of irony, satire, and pure absurdity to create insightful political commentary and homespun conflated conspiracy theories taken from today's news headlines. In the first segment of our show, known as the 14th Circuit, or what I like to call the Court of Public Opinion, renowned raconteur the Reverend Rusty Stubblefield shares his unfiltered and unhinged views about America's constitutional, or shall I say, unconstitutional crisis. His topic this week is the Declaration of Independence. Rusty, the microphone is all yours.
Well, thank you, Hugo. There's been a lot of talk about big plans for celebrating the 250th anniversary of these here United States of America next year. And they's using the date of July 4th, 1776, the date that their Declaration of Independence was adopted, to do the math. When it comes to accounting, 250 years is right around the average number of years a typical empire lasts, or so I'm told. So based on that number and several other indicators which I'll get to in my sermon, my intuition tells me that these here United States is coming pretty close to the end of its rope. I don't know if you all noticed, but with all the bickering going on today, the government shutdown, and the division and hatred in our society, more than ever before, it sure as hell feels like we's hanging by a thread. Now, in 1776, that there Declaration of Independence was primarily drafted by a young feller named Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was one of them founding fathers who was doing his best to extricate them 13 original colonies from the hands of King George of England. Today, they saying, we's in pretty close to the same situation with that there Trump fella running roughshod over this country. Jefferson was a smart man and a gifted writer, and he made some grand promises in that there Declaration of Independence. Of all the things he said in that there declaration, probably the most noteworthy was this, and I quote, "We hold these truths self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." End quote. Well, that sure is one heck of a mouthful. Now, not being a history major in college, heck, I never even went to college at all. I learned how to be an auto mechanic by hanging around my Uncle Bubba's garage, and got me a reverend certificate at the Hog Holler School of Bible Studies in Frankfort, Kentucky. Like I said, with no college education, I don't think I's right qualified to dissect them there words Jefferson wrote, but being a mechanic who'll try his hand at almost anything, I's going to give it a whirl for y'all today. First off, what the hell did Jefferson mean by the words, "these truths"? One day whilst I was doing a tune-up at the garage, my Uncle Bubba told me that if you's looking for the truth, you'll find it at the bottom of a bottomless pit. And when I was trying to fix a carburetor on Otis Driftwood's Hemi, there was plenty of bottomless pits to go around. And what about these here words, self-evident? I guess he was talking about things that was pretty darn obvious. You know, like I like to say, as plain as the noses on your pretty little faces. Now, based on what follows, you know that all men are created equal. It's self-evident to me that there Jefferson fella was full of horse crap. Pardon my French. Now, if all men is created equal, why was slaves and women folk denied the right to vote for so many years? Now that's self-evident to me, that their Jefferson fellow believed that slaves was property, and women, well, they just wasn't men. Today, it would be fair for guys and gals like you and me to call Jefferson a hypocrite. In reality, I think it's more like that he was a self-serving rich pig who was trying to secure his own fortune on the backs of others, just like that fellow Trump is doing today. And what about them their unalienable rights that were endowed by the Creator? Was Jefferson talking about God-given rights that all people have, that neither could be taken away from you or given away by his fellow man? If so, why the heck didn't he just say it so that plain folk like you and me could understand it? He didn't, because he didn't want plain folk like you and me to understand what he was actually talking about. That's if they had any book learning in the first place. And just think about how, in our post-pandemic AI-generating modern-day society, people is being denied these rights every day and in every which way but loose. Just go ask that talk show host feller Jimmy Kimmel. And as far as that separation of church and state baloney, to the contrary, the Declaration of Independence invokes the name of God right there in the first few sentences. It says in plain English that the rights of man is endowed by the Creator. If God ain't the Creator, and God ain't the main character in the Bible, then who the hell is? Separation of church and state is just another bunch of BS that sounds good but ain't true. As a reverend myself, I feel confident in saying so. There ain't nothing wrong with having a little old-time religion in politics. Even the goddamn dollar says right on it, "In God we trust." Now, here's the kicker. What the heck does it mean to have the right to life, liberty, and happiness in these here United States today? Let's talk about the right to life. For argument's sake, 27 states out of 50 has the death penalty in this here country. I ain't no math wizard, but that's more than half. Ain't it ironical that in these here United States we have the right to life, yet we the people can take the life of one of our fellow men by sending him to the gallows or by electrocuting him? You think Jefferson would be okay with that? I sure that Tyler Robinson, you know, the feller that assassinated Charlie Kirk, he ain't. And what about them unborn babies being killed by abortions? Where's these unborn babies' rights to life? I guess that's left up to the individual states too, just like killing your fellow man is. And as far as liberty goes, ask them U.S. citizens serving jail sentences for misdemeanors like smoking reefer, when Trump is out there pardoning folks for participating in that there Capitol riot on January 6th, or pardoning his cronies for stealing millions of dollars from folks just like you and me. Lastly, how's about them survivors of Jeffrey Epstein? You think they's feeling happy about being raped as teenage girls with no restitution? Where's these Epstein survivors' happiness today? Maybe that Thomas Jefferson fellow, as smart as he was, didn't understand the difference between happiness and injustice. In theory, the Declaration of Independence was an aspirational document that has fallen way short of its expectations. After 250 years, it's probably a good time to revisit our country's foundational documents, including that there Constitution too, and tweak them just a whisker. Congressmen and senators and Supreme Court justices, you all up for that task? And now, as I say at the end of each of my weekly sermons, if you and me put our pretty little heads together, we may still be able to figure out how to get this here US of A back on track. Thank y'all for listening.
Rusty Stubblefield is an unemployed certified auto mechanic and deacon at the Church of Our Lady of Original Sin. And now it's time to take our weekly musical journey with the inimitable Electric Love Orchestra, featuring Rusty Stubblefield on vocals in an original piece written by world-renowned composer E. Dude X entitled Cities Just Stress Me Out. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with this week's Conflated Conspiracy Theories.
Cities just stress me out. Stress me out. Cities just stress me out. stress me out. Stress me out. They stress me out.
Thank you, Rusty, E-Dude X and the Electric Love Orchestra for creating that musical masterpiece, available online at Bearberry Path Music. In our next segment of the podcast, we'll be sharing various homegrown conspiracy theories that have been developed by our staff of creative writers and novice journalists who believe first and foremost that at the Conflation Station, anything is possible. We invite you, our listeners, to share your own homegrown conspiracy theories by sending an email to bearberrypathmusic, one word, at gmail.com. That's bearberrypathmusic, one word, at gmail.com. And place the words conspiracy theory in the subject line. We would love to hear from you, our listeners. Today, our reporting will focus on the invasion of Portland. Our lead story this week focuses on President Trump's invasion of Portland. This week, the Trump administration deployed federal troops to Portland, Oregon, after learning that a team of local Antifa scientists developed a strain of plant spores that could be grown into large seed pods capable of cloning visually identical copies of Trump supporters. Working in conjunction with Portland's local chapter of the Democratic National Committee, Antifa operatives have covertly placed hundreds of these seed pods under the beds in homes of known MAGA loyalists living in the greater Portland metropolitan area. The process works as follows. After a seed pod reaches its full development, the pod assimilates the physical traits, memories, and personality of each sleeping Trump supporter in the bed above. Once the process is complete, only the person cloned by the seed pod is left. As a result, each newly cloned Trump supporter becomes transformed into a liberal Democrat capable of expressing all forms of human emotion, empathy, humanity, and intelligence they lacked as a Trump supporter. And, most significantly, the cloned individual is no longer loyal to President Trump. Based on reports from our Conflation Station affiliate KDEX in Portland, local FBI agents, along with the National Guard's elite pod unit, are trying to prevent the pods from proliferating. In an unrelated story, this week, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth called together the nation's military brass from locations across the globe to convene at the Quantico Marine Corps base in Virginia to take a Nazi-inspired loyalty oath to President Donald Trump and for lectures on, quotes, warrior ethos, end quotes. The lectures were delivered by none other than the San Francisco Warriors elite guard and two-time NBA Most Valuable Player Stephen Curry. To this end, Hegseth has appointed Curry, pending Senate confirmation, as America's warrior-in-chief. Under Curry's direction, generals and admirals alike will practice ball handling techniques including dribbling and behind-the-back passing, three-point shooting, dunking, and foul shooting. Commenting on the content of the day-long seminar, Hegseth said, quote, "If we're going to teach our men in the military how to shoot to kill, there is no man more qualified on the planet to train them on how to do it than the NBA's all-time leading three-point scorer, Steph Curry." In response to Curry's appointment, Michael Jordan said, quote, "I'm the GOAT, not Curry," end quote, prompting a quick reply from LeBron James, who said, quote, "I've scored more points than either Curry or Jordan," end quote. Larry Bird also weighed in on the subject, saying that he was surprised that Hegseth did not go with a white guy like himself. At the present time, Hegseth is working with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver to strike a trade deal between the Warriors and the Atlanta Hawks, or the Washington Capitals, to bring Curry closer to his new duties at the Pentagon. And now it's time to take a short musical break to listen to another original piece composed by E-Dude X and performed by Rusty Stubblefield and the Electric Love Orchestra, entitled Warrior. Stay tuned and we'll be right back with another conflated conspiracy theory.
Don't mess with me, 'cause I'll mess you up. Don't mess with me, 'cause I'll F you up. I'm a warrior! Yeah. a warrior. Yeah. A mighty man. I'm a warrior. Don't give a damn. I'm a warrior. Yeah. Do all I can. I'm a warrior. Don't give a damn.
Thank you, boys and girls. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Remember, the Electric Love Orchestra's complete catalog is available online at Bearberry Path Music. Our next story focuses on phobias. This week, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be taking up the topic of America's mental health, with a focus on people who are diagnosed with phobias, things that pose little or no danger but make people fearful and highly anxious. Some people have a fear of heights, known as acrophobia. Some have a fear of confined spaces, known as claustrophobia. And some even have a morbid fear of spiders, known as arachnophobia. While there are many phobias to choose from, RFK Jr. will be turning the CDC's immediate attention to finding the causation and cure for the phobia that afflicts President Donald Trump, known as gigantosophobia, the fear of tall people. While Trump stands 6 feet 3 inches tall himself, he has a morbid fear of people who are taller than him. In addition, President Trump has a strange fixation on short people as well. In a press briefing held at the Center for Disease Control last week, RFK Jr. said, quote, "Gigantosophobia, or fear of tall people, is an affliction that many Americans, including President Trump, suffer from. It is becoming one of America's fastest-growing mental illnesses, an epidemic. And I will use any and all of the resources I have at my disposal at the CDC to get it under control. At the present time, my team of scientists think that it may be caused by taking Tylenol, or from vaccines, or from too much fluoride in drinking water." End quote. Knowing that Secretary of Defense Hegseth has already appointed Steph Curry as warrior-in-chief, RFK Jr. reached out to former NBA legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who stands over 7 feet tall, to help him lead the effort. According to our team of novice reporters, Kareem refused the position, suggesting that Kennedy recruit a tall white guy like OKC's Isaiah Hartenstein for the job because white folks are a better fit for the Trump administration. Trump's gigantosophobia manifests itself in the form of attacking those people who are taller than him because he perceives them as a threat. A perfect example of this manifestation is Trump's behavior towards former FBI Chief James Comey. Comey stands at 6 feet 8 inches tall, and Trump has both fired him as the FBI's director and most recently had him indicted by the DOJ for lying under oath. Trump has repeatedly characterized Comey as a man who, quotes, tells tall tales. Our team of novice reporters has obtained a directive that Trump issued to Attorney General Pam Bondi, demanding that she go after his other political adversaries based on their height. The taller Trump's political opponent, the sooner he asks Bondi to indict them. First on Trump's list is Barack Obama, coming in at 6'1". Next is Adam Schiff, coming in at 5'11", followed by Jamie Raskin, coming in at 5'10". Adam Kinzinger and John Bolton, coming in at 5'9", will be indicted on the same day, and Congressman Benny Thompson, 5'8", will fill out Trump's indictment dance card. When asked by reporters if he was just seeking political retribution against members of the January 6th committee, Trump said, quote, "Absolutely not. This is strictly about height. The fact that these liberal, radical, incompetent Democrats all served on the J6 committee had nothing to do with my decision to indict them." End quote. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, standing at 5 feet 9 inches tall, also weighed in on Trump's fixation about height, stating that, quote, "President Trump used to call me Little Marco. That was before I told him that I was 5'9". End quote. Trump is also afraid of his own son Barron, who stands 6 feet 9 inches tall. According to sources close to First Lady Melania Trump, she said, quote, "Donald has not spoken with Barron since he grew to be 6 feet 4 inches tall, 1 inch taller than his father. I wished we wouldn't have given Barron so much growth hormone when he was an adolescent." End quote. In a related story, renowned songwriter Randy Newman will be releasing a remake of his 1977 hit song Short People under the title Tall People, to heighten public awareness for gigantosophobia.
Well, we've reached our destination. We'll be back next week to pick you up for yet another journey to and from the Conflation Station.